Hi there, and welcome to the SVP Fast Pitch Application and Program Info webinar. I am Jamesa Gorley. I'm the Program Manager at SVP Seattle for Fast Pitch. I'm really excited to see that you're interested in applying to the program or considering it. This is the first time we have done a webinar, so hopefully this is a useful tool to go through and kind of answer some of your questions about the program, the application process, etc. So we did have an in-person session last week for interested applicants, and so this is the same content that was presented in person, and I will try to just overlay some of the questions that have popped up from that session and via email so that everyone has the same access to info. So within this, you'll find resources and a quick overview of what SVP does holistically as an organization, and then we'll go through the program overview for Fast Pitch, what's new this year, what you can expect. And there are a lot of resources online that you have access to now on our website. And you can also reach out to email me at fastpitch@svpseattle.org with any questions that you might have. So with that, we'll get started. So SVP as an organization is a philanthropic organization that goes beyond only giving dollars, but also giving time and expertise to help strengthen nonprofits in King County. So we started in Seattle 20 years ago and have now grown to be an organization of over 500 individuals who are engaged in social purpose work and who are looking for ways to give their time, talent, and treasure to help area nonprofits thrive and continue to do the vital work that they do in the community. So we work with a portfolio of organizations across the education and environmental space, and over our history have supported over 150 organizations through skills-based volunteering and capacity building. So we as an organization believe in a Puget Sound where everyone is able to thrive regardless of income or race. So SVP Seattle has also grown to now be a part of a global network with SVP International, and we're a network of like-minded individuals with over 40 locations across the globe. So within that, there's actually about 17 other locations that also host a Fast Pitch program. And where we just talked about where Seattle, SVP Seattle is focused on education environment, Fast Pitch actually allows us to expand the breadth of organizations that we work with and is open to all service areas within the Greater Puget Sound. So with that, we'll talk a little bit more about Fast Pitch. So what is Fast Pitch? So at its core, Fast Pitch really started to help organizations tell their story. So this is our 8th year in Seattle. It actually started over 10 years ago in LA, and one of our founding partners was so inspired by the LA organization's program that they brought it to Seattle, and we have been able to grow the program to be what it is today over those last 7 years. And so really we are a communications program and pitch competition that wants to give a voice to nonprofits and for-profit social enterprises. This is really achieved through dedicated mentorship, and this year we'll be launching a learning curriculum where you will learn to powerfully tell your story and empower you to speak your truth, to be in front of a multitude of audiences, and to get people excited and engaged in the work that you do. A little bit about our impact and the history of Seattle's Fast Pitch program. So as I mentioned, we're now entering our 8th year. We've worked with over 350 organizations that have come through the program, and now given across investments and grants over actually $1.2 million over the history of our organization. So this year we are inviting established nonprofits with a new program, startup nonprofits less than 3 years old, and for-profits less than 3 years old to apply for the program. Ultimately, our program goals is really what we also talked about as an organization, is to provide capacity building and mentorship for the innovators or the participants of the program. So this would be through the learning opportunities, through storytelling and mentorship. And secondarily, we also are an organization of engaged individuals. So we hope to provide rewarding volunteer experiences for coaches, mentors, and other program volunteers that are involved with Fast Pitch. And ultimately, we've received, a lot of feedback that it's an important arena to have access to other peers and organizations that are also focused on social purpose work, and access to additional mentors. So we really want to make sure that we continue to provide a forum and a space for collaboration and connection with others in the social sector in Seattle and the Greater Puget Sound, to make sure that we're able to collectively work towards common goals and not continue to kind of work in silos on some of these issues that are so pressing for all of us. So the way that we talk about kind of benefits of the program and reasons to apply, there's really a number. So you'll see in this slide and the next slide, this is kind of what you get, and then we'll talk about kind of expectations of what we would ask of you as a participant. So really a number of benefits. We talk about storytelling and really leading with the ability to tell your story. So you will have the tools and skills to tell a concise story about your organization that gets people ignited and engaged, so you can talk to your next donor, your next board member, your next investor, volunteer, et cetera, et cetera. But that is the story of self and truth that you get to move forward with. As we talked about, the power of connection. So this is, with your other peers and mentors. Those mentors have access one-on-one with you. So each organization is assigned 2 dedicated coaches. So you will have one-on-one mentorship. And then also, as we'll get into in further slides with our group sessions, you'll also have access to the full cohort of coaches that provide live and written feedback. Ultimately, also, we talk about the exposure that you will gain, and this is just through our own communications and storytelling to the SVP membership base and partners, but also our extended community across our newsletters, our social outlets, and ultimately the final event that we host that invites upwards of 700 community members to attend, to see the final pitches, to meet organizations, to engage, and further continue your ability to have those conversations with potential community members. As we talked about, we will also launch education series. So within our group sessions, we'll also provide access to learning with topical kind of crowdsourced content. So this will be informed by the applications that we received this year as to the areas in which you're most interested in receiving mentorship and expertise. This also will be extended into an alumni program that we're growing this year. And so that will be access to continued lunch and learn sessions and educational learning moving into 2019 that might not be so communications focused. So while we may focus on a subset of issues during the 3-month program, there could be additional issues as board governance or financials that we would provide additional learning to as we move beyond just the final season. And then ultimately, there's also opportunities to win grant dollars and pro bono services from some of our sponsors. So we talked about kind of those are all the reasons to apply. There's also just expectations of you as an innovator. So Innovators just speaks to the innovation component of social innovation within the program. So you'll see this CSU's Innovators as an ongoing term. So that is just you as a participating organization or individual. And really what we ask of you is just to be proactive, right? So come with a good attitude, have fun, be willing to learn. We know that this experience can be vulnerable, allowing coaches and other organizations to hear about you and your story and why you're motivated and what your organization does. So we are open to that and sensitive to that. So just be willing to share and participate. Also be willing to receive feedback. So we know that this can be an interesting process, and so you'll get a lot of different sources of feedback and suggestions and constructive feedback. So just be open to that and hearing, and ultimately you know your organization best and will choose what to adopt or what not to adopt. There also will just be some expectations on showing up and making sure there's the key dates that will be outlined multiple times here and online and every resource, but making sure that you're ready and available to participate both in person at group sessions, in one-on-one sessions with your coach, and then also adhere to any deliverables that might be needed. So, we usually ask for your presentation to be sent the day prior to our pitch clinic. So just making sure that you keep in mind those deadlines and the time commitment that ultimately we'll be asking for. So do know that this can be a pretty time-intensive ask. So you'll see here that we have a minimum commitment of an expected 40 hours, and that really can range depending on your availability and where your organization may be at in the spectrum of how comfortable you are presenting in front of others, how far along your current story and deck or presentation may be. And so that is where I just like to caveat that a minimum expectation across this time period should be at least 40 hours, if not more, for you to get the most out of the program. So next, with eligibility requirements. So again, online, there's a lot of details. This is also within the application. Once you start that, you'll see as you kind of toggle between the track that you apply for, those details are up, but this is a snapshot of eligibility. So with our established nonprofits, these are organizations that have been around for a number of years, more than 3 years, but you have some new program or venture or arm that you want to launch and bring to Fast Pitch. Within the startup nonprofits, those are under 3 years old. So these are new. You likely have a budget of under $250,000. What's really important about the nonprofits is that you are based here in the Greater Puget Sound area, and you also serve the Greater Puget Sound. So if you are an affiliate of a national organization, you just need to let us know where you're headquartered, and that you do have a local headquarters and presence here, and speak to that in the application. The other important piece to note is that we do need to have 501c3 status or your fiscal sponsorship by September 15th. So a question did come up in the session, what if I've applied for 501c3 status and it hasn't yet come through? That is okay. If the application is in process, you can submit proof that the application is just pending approval, but we'll just need to have some sort of proof of that 501c3 that's come through or you've applied for, or fiscal sponsorship by the deadline, so we know that you are able to receive grant dollars with the program. The for-profits must be socially focused, so you are startups under 3 years old. You would be pre-Series A and seed stage, but have some type of MVP product or service, and some type of kind of trial or outcome that you're able to share. So, and as far as kind of service area, this is a little bit different for the social enterprise. However, priority will be given to social enterprise organizations that are headquartered and based within Seattle. But here you should have some type of strong connection or affiliation with the kind of greater Northwest. So that's defined as Washington, Oregon, Idaho, and British Columbia. And then you are able to serve a global population or population nationally outside of just the Puget Sound. But again, we would love to see organizations that are focused on solving problems and serving communities here in the Greater Puget Sound. But this is a little bit nuanced to where you have a connection but can serve a bit of a larger audience. When we talk about the judging rubric or judging criteria, this is a quick overview of the pillars by which we evaluate every application that comes through. Again, this information is online, and I will make available the full rubric. This does not change, so these key pillars of evaluation are from now through the end of the program. So they will be consistent with coaches and judges that you're presenting to. We'll go through kind of some brief overviews, but again, if you go to the website and look at evaluation criteria, there are additional details for each of these. We just wanted to be able to provide a snapshot. So I'm looking at social impact. This is core to the program. And so really this is, what problem are you solving? What is your organization dedicated to? And you're able to clearly articulate what the organization's mission is, who you serve, and what you do. And looking at innovation, this really can both speak to kind of your approach to solving problems. I think what's important to point out here is the piece around kind of innovation can really come in many forms. So don't think of it if it's only those that have a new piece of tech or a brand new venture that's kind of never been seen before. So while that is welcome, there's also innovation in how we tackle new issues, maybe new partnerships that you're working towards, nuances to products that may have existed that we're focusing on new ways. So, think about the way that you're rethinking and retooling what you've been doing or what you're offering, and how that's innovative to the sector and the work that you're doing. Also this year, as an organization, we are highly focused on race equity, and with that have introduced the advancement of race equity as a core component to the evaluation process of Fast Pitch this year. So this is where we're really looking for a demonstrated commitment to advancing outcomes and really addressing racial disparities that exist within communities served. So, this may be organizations that are led by leaders of color that serve communities of color and marginalized communities, but are really focusing on closing gaps that we know exist because of racial disparities, and have outcomes-based approaches that are using to close some of those gaps. Next, with sustainability. So this is really thinking about your health and viability moving forward. So will you be around to carry out the mission that you will be talking about in your pitch? So, how will you continue to serve your community and have the capacity to do the work that you're doing without running through resources? So really thinking about you are here and in it for the long haul and how you will achieve those outcomes. With leadership, we really, want to think about what's the makeup of your organization. Do you have a strong board of directors? How engaged are they? Do you have advisors that have experience within the work that you're doing? And thinking about it, on a scale of, is it you yourself and a family member that thinks your idea is awesome, or do you have a engaged and developed or developing board and group of advisors that have a stake and expertise or lived experience in the work that you're doing and are qualified to kind of help you on your path. Clarity of concept, this really is the story and pitch. So within the application phase, this is really concentrated on how well you're able to just kind of communicate your story and what your organization does. But this is not so focused on, obviously, the visual and verbal presentation or pitch itself. So this becomes more important as we move through the process and we work towards the final event and pitching on stage. But just know that you are, not expected to knock it out of the park on the first try and be some, awesome presenter. This is why we have this program, is to help those that may need a little extra assistance on finding, how to communicate your story, thinking about body language and how to present in front of others. So those are things that we look to instill along the way through training, education, and mentorship. And so this will become a factor, but again, don't let those jitters deter you from applying, because this is why this program exists. And we know that there is a need for this expertise. So ultimately, when looking at the for-profits, we also want to look at the financial strategy and business plan. So you'll see within the application that there is an area to upload an attachment of a overall general finances and executive summary. I will say for the nonprofits, we may reach out and ask for some additional information. However, looking at the for-profits, we want to see kind of a well-articulated business plan, kind of look at what your market strategy is, competitive analysis. And while this is important for all, when speaking to potential investors or looking for venture capital, there are more strenuous eyes kind of on some of the financial pieces, and so that's where there's just some additional rigor for the for-profits that we have a few extra asks. Again, this is really top line, kind of the judging pillars. I should also mention that the way that our team of screeners and then later coaches and invited judges score is essentially you will each have an individual score on each criteria on a scale from low to high, from 1 to 5. And then there will be calculated an overall score. And judges and screeners will also be asked to kind of force rank. So we also have a conversation about, what organizations would benefit most from being in the program, and do we benefit from kind of, getting to work and hear more about the communities and the work that you're doing. So, while maybe on clarity of concept, there's some work and there might be a lower score. We do think about kind of the exponential impact that you're able to have, and beyond just the numerical scores, also ask screeners and coaches to rank applications in order that they would want to see progress regardless of the numerical score. There's also no percentage allotments, so it's not that, you know, one pillar is worth more than others, but really it's kind of a combination of elements. Each question in, or almost every question within the application will directly tie to one of these pillars, so you'll see the correlation, and there you'll be able to kind of, you know, go into detail to tell your story and why you are applying. One thing that comes up every year is kind of, obviously everyone's very interested in grant dollars and what you get out of it, right? So we obviously went through a number of benefits beyond just the check at the end. And so I just want to continue to mention that, you know, really what we are looking to do is create a community, right? And create a platform and a space where we can continue to collaborate, and you are a part of something that goes beyond a final event. So it really is about the exposure, you know, the connection, the story that you leave with. But we also do know that, you know, as budding organizations or starting a new project, that obviously access to cash and services is also very important. So I do want to caveat that these are grant ranges. Every year we do fundraise for Fast Pitch, and so we are supported by our generous sponsors and the ticket sales that are garnered, those dollars that are garnered for sales to our November 10th event. So as we are in the process of fundraising, that's where I just caveat that these are general ranges. But every track, so established nonprofit, startup nonprofit, and for-profit, will receive a first and second place prize. We also have an audience choice award. So this is something that happens at the final event, where attendees are able to, you know, live vote based on the presentations on stage on who should receive audience choice. We also have a really fun gift for angel checks or angel awards, and so this is available to select sponsors, and then also is a raffle to pull out names of attendees at random, and they are given a check in the amount of $250 and $500 that then they are able to choose which of all organizations they would like to give those to. So this is available beyond just those that presented on stage. And it's really started with the notion of every act, even if it's a, you know, small amount of $5, $10, $250, you know, in this example, is an act of philanthropy, and we all can be philanthropists and give back. And so that is something that if you've attended before, you know, usually is a really fun piece, but is also a benefit to all participants. New this year, we are also working to make sure that we have participation grants for everyone. So, you know, again, while it's awesome to get on stage and literally receive a big foam check, we also want to honor and acknowledge the time and commitment that everyone has put into the program. And so we are working to fundraise and have minimal grant amounts available to everyone that did not win dollars on stage as part of the first or second place awards. Also, this year we are looking at partnering with finding the technology now, but we also want to have a text to give program that we could announce through the final event, and then also at the Innovator Expo, where you would be able to have attendees text to give and text to fundraise for you know, an easy to use funding platform that we would be able to launch this year. In looking at a overall program timeline, where we are right now obviously is within applications. So we have about a week and a half to go from this recording. So applications close on July 1st, so get those in by 11:59 p.m. And then we start screening. So we'll go into a little bit of details, but we have volunteers, both members and SVP members and community members that read and score applications, and then we meet as a group to deliberate. We will have a second round of conversations where we may, follow up with a certain subset of organizations that we have some additional questions on. And then by early August, we will have our 20 organizations selected this year. One thing I should mention, just changes over last year, is that we have traditionally had over 50 organizations that are usually accepted in the program, where this year we will be looking at up to 20 organizations. So that also means that we have also we have sunset, or kind of will not be moving forward with specific tracks of high school and university. So while those are not separate tracks, any interested students can continue to apply within the nonprofit or for-profit tracks. You would just be within that general pool. So, some of the thought process behind the 20 organizations, this came up as a question in last week's in-person session, but really kind of why the 20. And so in kind of creating the space and making sure that we have the ability to collaborate and connect, we wanted to scale back the program a bit to make sure that we could really be intentional about kind of this connection as a group, and not have a round of elimination where we previously had quarterfinals. So really wanted to kind of double down and create a space for 20 organizations to start and end the full process together, allow just spatially and logistically for us to be in one room, and really make sure that the program is sustainable and we're able to control for positive outcomes and ensure the coach matching process, feedback process, and all of that good stuff. So again, we go select our semifinals. You would be introduced to your coach mid-August, and then our first session is the end of August, on August 20th. All of the dates in red are dates that you as a participant should save now. So again, we ask that all of these dates are mandatory. We have added a question within the application where if you have a date that you will need to miss, you can write that in and let us know. There are certain dates that would have really immediately prohibit you from participating. So any missing of dates will be taken into account within the screening process and evaluation process. So please make sure to note, and please save these dates and plan on attending in person. So again, we'll go through a little bit more in detail, but you have the top line sessions here. We'll have orientation. We'll go through practice sessions, and then at the 10:15 meeting, we will have some invited guests that come, and sponsors and coaches that have coached for a number of years. In addition to individual coaches, that will be a larger group that attends, and then everyone has a vote into who should be the 10 finalists on stage. So we also have an opportunity this year to have a dress rehearsal, and the final event that everyone should save on their calendar for sure is Saturday, November 10th. To go through a little bit of this, we kind of just covered, but applications again close July 1st. It is an online application, so the website you see here, it's also available online if you go to the apply page. Make sure to answer all the questions. I think that came up a lot in some feedback from our Innovator panel that attended last week and some questions. Just make sure to really go through and answer the questions that are being asked. One question that also came up was also, I'm having trouble with the word count limits. Can I point you to another website to find more information? So, really the response to that is that ultimately you're working towards a pitch that is 5 minutes long, right? And so that in of itself and the application is part of the exercise. So how do you start to be concise and boil down what you do to meet the word limits, because ultimately you're going to tell that, in a much shorter way in 5 minutes. So, make sure that you make it as clear and concise as possible. Again, we do have a second round if there were some, burning question that we needed to ask. But you do have word limits there. Be clear about your answers, have other people read your answers, read through, ask questions, be true to yourself and your organization. And, just, again, reach out if you're having any issues. I just put this note here on the phone number. I'd heard from a few people that it was a little bit wonky on how to log in. So the phone number is an optional field, but if you do choose to put it, just put +1 and then your number, and you shouldn't have any issues there. So as I mentioned before, we go through the screening process. We will do a pre-screen. So if, for example, you don't meet the eligibility requirements that we talked about earlier, so if you're a nonprofit and you don't serve the Seattle area, I would reach out to you and just let you know that, unfortunately you would not be eligible to continue. So we'll go through a pre-screen, and then everyone that is in fact eligible for the program, those applications are then assigned and doled out to the selection committee that we have participating this year. So there's a number of weeks for those individuals to read through and score. We meet as a team to deliberate. We have the second round of follow-up and then deliberate again. And we would look to notify the 20 semifinalists that move forward, and a few alternates that are also chosen by August 8th. And then you would need to confirm participation, and we'll go from there. So again, we kind of talked about the cohort sessions. So this is also new this year, where we are meeting as a group. We will meet as a group of peers and innovators alongside with coaches. So coaches are also asked to clear calendars and make sure that these dates are available. We will have an orientation together on August 20th. That will be a joint orientation with coaches, and you'll also have the opportunity, we'll have a happy hour kind of gathering fun time, so you're able to chat, learn a little more, schedule your next meeting with your coach, because all of these dates, as well, these are group dates. In the off weeks, you will meet one-on-one with your coaches directly. So that might be in person, at a coffee shop, via Skype, via phone, whatever that is, but you'll have the opportunity to have one-on-one connection. And again, this is all communicated with coaches when they apply to be a coach, and go through that process. So we are, setting time commitment expectations, knowing that this year is a bit more structured than last year's as far as kind of the actual time commitment that we're asked to do. And then beyond the 8:20, that September 17th, 10:1, and 10:15, those are the group sessions that we will have, education curriculum and then practice sessions for each innovator to participate. So kind of on that note, I wanted to give a little more detail on kind of what do these group sessions look like. So we're really excited to announce that we have partnered with the Seattle Impact Hub this year. So our SVP office is at the hub, and we also will be hosting all of our group sessions at the hub in their first floor space. space. So based on the feedback that we had from the community and coaches, Monday evenings really seem to be the best date that would work for the greatest amount of people. And so you'll see that all of these dates are Monday evenings. We will go from 4 to 8. While that is a long time, this will look like, you arrive at 4, we have welcome and community announcements, and you have the opportunity to kind of, share some things that might be coming up within your organization. We will then have about 45 minutes of topical education, and again, this would be communications related or really based on the feedback that we hear from all the applications. And then they will be practice sessions. So essentially kind of what that looks like in this bottom picture here is the space which we will be in. You'll see, if you haven't visited the hub, that there is a stage set up. We have a mic, an AV system. You'll have a clicker to be able to advance your slides, but this will be really a great forum for you to get a sense of what it feels like to to pitch and tell your story in front of an audience. So it's not just you're going from yourself in the mirror to being on stage in front of 700 people. You really have a room full of people that are there to support each other and advance the work and the skills that you have to tell your story. So you do have the ability to use PowerPoint slides. We'll go through a presentation training at orientation. So we would encourage that you use slides sparingly as far as the content that is included. But you would send those decks Sunday prior. We have all of those ready to go, and essentially after the education piece, we'll go into practice sessions. And so every organization and innovator, the person pitching, will have 5 minutes to go through their pitch. And then we have a few minutes afterwards for each person for verbal question and answers and feedback from your peers and from the coaches that are attending. So, there will be an opportunity for direct feedback. There also will be written feedback from each person that is given to you after each session. So that will be given to you and your coach, and then you'll be able to review that on your own timeline, and when you meet with coaches to think about do you or don't you kind of want to incorporate some of that feedback. And that is what will happen essentially for 9/17 and 10/1. 10/15 again will be the same format. You might just see some new faces, and then coming out of the 10/15, you will know by the next day who will be moving forward. So we'll look at scores from that. And then have a objective group of individuals from the selection committee that will also attend and help weigh in on any tiebreakers that might be needed to choose the 10. Because you're all doing awesome work, it does become a very hard process to choose. One question that has come up from multiple organizations in this process is how many people can attend the group session. So just given kind of logistics of the room and some restrictions that we have operationally, it really should be, and the ask is that it's one person to attend per organization. So whoever is pitching attends and plans to come to all those dates, to stay from 4 to 8. However, we will tell you prior when you kind of fall within the schedule of that night. So you'll know, okay, I'm third, I'm going to pitch, my practice pitch will be at 6 o'clock tonight. And so you can let your other team members know that want to come so that they can see you live pitch. They can also hear the feedback, take notes, internalize that, and then we'll have that as a resource to meet as a group. We also will record each innovator and each pitch that you do, so that will be sent to you as a file that you have access to use with your coach and team. When you meet at one-on-one with your coaches, that you can invite your team to. It can be more than one person. It's just really kind of staying throughout the night for the group sessions that we do have some limitations. So, we are aware that, as an organization that is dedicated to capacity building and, helping organizations grow and thrive, we know that, one person shouldn't, be the brain trust and hold kind of all the information, but this should be disseminated and shared throughout. So while understanding that, kind of we're working through some logistics. So again, we ask that it's one person that attends the group session, the full group session. Your team members can join when you are presenting. And then, team members are obviously involved to have interactions with coaches as needed. So if there are, any concerns with that, please reach out and let us know. But that is kind of how we're able to move forward with us with the program this year. And ultimately with coaches, so we do have a coach application. We ask kind of what their areas of interest are, what their areas of expertise are. You're also asked in the application where you're looking for mentorship. And so we make every attempt to make sure that there is a great match. We go through this survey process for coaches and always look to pair. Ideally, each organization would have access to 2 coaches that would be matched with a more experienced coach and potentially a new coach. But we're actively recruiting coaches. If you know of someone that would also be an excellent mentor, please send them our way. But you, again, would be introduced to your coach and you'd meet them at orientation and then kind of go through the process together. We have a lot of coaches that are still involved with their organizations even after this process. And so, it's not meant to be someone where you're recruiting them to be a donor or join your board or have, those expectations. But we love to hear stories of connection. So that may come down the road, but don't enter the relationship, expecting that is going to be an outcome. But, it very well could be, should that be a great connection and a valuable interaction. One of the other benefits this year is just that, being in the group, you will have more exposure to the full group of coaches, right? So, if there is a need for, additional help or expertise in a certain area, that's something that we can start to field as a group. Or if after the November event, you really connected with another coach, you always should feel able to, speak to and collaborate with whoever's in the room, as kind of we're all there with the same purpose at hand. And then the last thing that we'll talk about is just ultimately the final showdown. So this is the event on Saturday, November 10th. This is where, up to 10 organizations out of the 20 will pitch on stage. And so this will be in front of an audience. This year we're actually moving to Kane Hall at the University of Washington. So it's really a real fun, energizing, inspirational night where, there's upwards of 700 people that come to attend. You will receive 2 tickets to come. You'll also receive, an access to codes to invite others to come cheer you on. But then, we have a great mix of people that have really been involved over the years from SVP, from the community, local business and philanthropic leaders that come. We have an invited panel of judges that come that night to choose award winners. And it's really an awesome night. So we'll have the show itself, the program, and then that will be in Kane Hall. And then we invite everyone to go and celebrate the night with an Innovator Expo. So all 20 of the organizations that participate will have a booth So you'll be able to, showcase your organization, to talk to community members, to do the Text to Give fundraising, and just enjoy a night of connection, food, and drinks, and great conversation. And so that will happen at Kane Hall, and then we will have a 5-minute walk still on UW campus to the Intellectual House that will host our reception that's open to all. So with that, I thank you for continuing to listen to me. I hope that this was a helpful tool. Please, open to feedback. We're always looking to learn and grow of kind of how this can be more useful, but wanted to make sure that everyone had access to the same detailed information that we went over in person. Again, this is Jamesa. You can reach me at Fast Pitch at svpseattle.org. I will respond to any questions, but use this as a resource, the website. You can log in to your application and start and exit and save as you go, and don't need to submit until 7/1. So, I would encourage you to take a look at the questions, think about how you want to apply, and then you're able to, start and kind of edit as you see fit. But we're really, truly excited about the program this year and the enhancement that's we have been able to execute. I think, in our move to this group model, it's really just an exciting time for us to have, additional connection points and collaboration to really see kind of where all of the work that you have committed to do, can just take off within community. So thank you again. Reach out with questions, and I can't wait to see your applications. Thank you.